Are you one of my single listeners, my solo kinksters who just dream of finding a kinky partner, or even just someone to play with for fuck's sake? Well, listen up, Buttercup. This episode is for you. If you feel like you've been looking in the window to the world of BDSM, peeping from the outside and dreaming, but you just can't seem to find your way in, stay tuned because I'm about to show you the door and tell you how to open it into the real life world of kink. Hello, my pets, and welcome into The Dungeon, the podcast for submissives to learn, grow, be entertained, and to ultimately find empowerment in their lifestyle. I'm your host, KatNash, the Music City Dominatrix, and this episode is your key to finding play partners for real. What I am talking about is, drumroll please, a munch. That's right. Your key to finding a kinky partner is not OnlyFans or Tryst, and it's probably not on Field or Tinder or Seeking. The single biggest success avenue for finding a kinky play partner is munches. So I'm about to get into it. I will explain what exactly a munch is, what it is like if you actually show up to one, the reasons why people find such success by going to munches, and some bonus advice if you are a submissive going to a munch to look for a femdom in particular. So first of all, what the fuck is a munch? I know that the first time I even heard the word munch, I scoffed at it. Like, a munch? That sounds stupid. Right? I know I can't be alone in having that first impression. But a munch is a gathering of kinky people in a public vanilla setting. Munches are typically done at restaurants where there are other patrons that are not part of the munch present. Sometimes they happen at bars. These are oftentimes called sloshes because they entail more drinking than munches typically do. The very first munch I went to was actually at a pavilion at a local park. So it was like outside around picnic tables. I vividly remember being surprised that everyone seemed so normal and not like typical networking events. So in the past, I've been to more than my fair share of networking events and Chamber of Commerce mixers. This was not that type of normal. These were it was like different normal. People who got excited talking about the upcoming full moon. People who made awkward, innocuous little pervy jokes, like authentically normal. Sure, people were nervous. I was super nervous. My first munch felt quite surreal. I remember sitting on a table, chain smoking, while listening to this much older woman talking just like normal conversation about her much younger sub being one of many in her household and how she'd set up a whole zip line like system throughout her house where she could keep her collared subs leashed to the zip lines, only allowing them in areas that she wanted them, primarily at the kitchen sink doing her dishes. It was fucking wild to me at the time, but people weren't putting on airs. People were meeting and actually just hanging out. And that's something that was a huge difference from other networking type events I had been to. At munches, people are genuinely interested in meeting other people just for the sake of meeting other people. At networking events, people have this sort of hungry feeling. And I'm not saying that no one at munches has an agenda. I'm just saying that most people don't. Yeah, they would love to meet someone they vibe with who could end up being a play partner or someone that they could get into a dynamic with. But munches are really a way to make friends and be part of community as an adult. Community is so underrated and lacking nowadays. My local BDSM community is my community. They are my people. They are my friends, which I realize is somewhat atypical for pro-doms, but that's unfortunate because the BDSM community is really such a gift. Anyway, munches are where the community meets, vibes, and nurtures relationships, whether that's friendship, play partners, or even romance. From munches, you make connections, friends. You hear about events and play parties. Maybe you begin chatting with someone you met online. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I need to walk you through exactly what a munch is like. The only place I know how to find local munches is on FetLife. So you would have to get on there unless you're just, you've got a friend that's on Fet. You type in your town or the closest bigger town, and then you join those groups. You scour them for events. You could also go to the event section of your FetLife account and type in your state or country and look for local events. If you live in a small town, you are likely going to have to drive. Now, I've met people at Nashville area munches that drive in from Kentucky and Alabama every month just to attend the munches. But what ends up happening is eventually they meet other people or couples who live closer to them. They connect and they start their own small local munches. But it's not abnormal for people to drive a couple of hours to go to a munch. I mean, it's typically once a month. Make it an occasion. If you're serious about finally getting some kink play, you're going to have to stretch yourself a little beyond your comfort zone. So once you pinpoint where and when the local munch is, next you need to think about what to wear. You want to make a good impression. And this is even more important for submissives. Your appearance says a lot about you. If you're wearing dirty jeans and a stained shirt to an occasion where you have the opportunity to meet goddesses, you're not likely to make a very good impression. If you don't take care of yourself, how could we possibly expect you to serve us with any degree of satisfaction? So look presentable. When in doubt, overdress slightly. I know one sub who always attends munches in some form of slacks, a nice unwrinkled button-up shirt, and a snazzy hat. He always has the hat, and you know what? It makes him stand out. It has charm. Also, I believe that clothes can be like uniforms. When you step into something nice, you elevate your persona. And you definitely want to elevate and impress. So dress nice. Now, munches are not strict things. If the event says it goes from 6 to 8, that does not mean you need to be there at 6 o'clock and stay until 8. It is typically an extremely informal affair. People show up whenever, and there always seems to be a few stragglers chatting away who don't want to leave when the time is up. I do recommend that you get there within the first hour. Sometimes there are name tags. This should always be optional, just for autonomy and privacy, discretion, you know. Sometimes there's an obvious host there to greet you, and sometimes you just sort of wander around. Sometimes everyone is standing up and chatting. Sometimes everyone is sitting and eating a meal. Most of the time, there's a mix between these two, like people at different tables eating, some standing up, some wandering outside to smoke cigarettes, whatever. Feel free to find an open seat and ask if anyone is sitting there, and then introduce yourself. And here's the thing. If you're a submissive man looking for a femdom, you don't need to go find the hottest chick you hope is a femdom and sit by her or go introduce yourself. You will have far better luck if you just start with just meeting someone, anyone, preferably someone else who looks awkward and new, because at munches, people circulate. If you just sit by yourself waiting for a femdom or anyone really to come up and start talking to you, you could be sitting there by yourself for a while. And then when someone does come along and chat, it's going to be kind of tedious for them because it's just you and them. Trust me, as a munch host, I deal with this regularly. Someone will come in and they want to find a femdom. So they'll sit at a table by themselves, hoping to stand out, I suppose, instead of joining a group. Inevitably, I go to introduce myself and meet them just to be friendly, and I want everyone to feel included and have a chance, at which time they generally light up and they want to chat away. But as a host, I'm then neglecting my hostly duties. I don't spend much time chatting with that person in particular. So let's look at it from a different path. Suppose that person had sat with a group of strangers, yes, but 9 times out of 10, there are people there who have never met each other in these groups anyway. So you're all kind of strangers. You aren't joining like a well-established friend group. And since this is a munch, which is the sole purpose is to meet people, it's not like you're crashing anyone's party by sitting and joining them. So you have to get over your fear or inhibitions about just going and sitting with a bunch of strangers. Of course, always ask, is anyone sitting here and may I have a seat? And once you are sitting, you don't have to chat. If there is established conversation already happening, just listen, be engaged. You may have a chance to add to the conversation, If people you sat with are just sitting there awkwardly, I would definitely suggest trying to make some light conversation. Inevitably, someone will circulate around, like, for example, me, the femdom host. Now, if you're by yourself, I'm likely to move on very quickly. I'm not going to spend all my time just chatting with you. But if there are several people there to chat with, you're going to have a longer opportunity to capture their attention. I stay with the bigger groups. Number one, it's more engaging. But then that's how I'm getting to know each of the people there. It's conversation going on. I'm seeing who the shy one is. I'm seeing who the one who likes to dominate the conversation. But the point is that the person you're wanting to spend time with is likely going to engage more, and you're going to be in their presence and get to know them a little bit more. And likewise, if you're with a group, not if you're by yourself and wanting them to just come and give you time, I hope this makes sense. And I'm making this super clear for my listeners who find meeting strangers painful. I mean, listen, I host munches and I'm a professional dominatrix, and these things still ramp up my anxiety beforehand, but they're always worth it. I've never once gone to a munch and thought, damn, I wish I hadn't gone. What a waste of time. No, I've never thought that. But also, I'm not going with the expectations of finding my dream partner that night. What I have met in the past have been people I became friends with. I was then invited to local play parties where I made more friends with people. I've been invited to femdom events, and I made friends that I hang out with in vanilla settings. I've even met several guys whom I went on to play with who've become my on again, off again, my go-to submissives, my personal submissives. At least 2 of them, of the submissives that now currently serve me, I met at munches. Interestingly, I've not met a single person who went on to become my client. So do with that information as you may. But going to munches has not just been fun for the sake of people meeting, but there's also been interesting conversation. And to be honest, it is rarely about kink. Yeah, sometimes kink comes up. Sometimes it does dominate the conversation. But the first couple of munches that I held, there was not kink talk at all. And that really surprised me. But nobody was talking about kink. Nobody was talking about sex. It was about regular life. People were just becoming friends. People were just vibing. You'll definitely see some more people drinking than you would at dungeons or play parties where alcohol is oftentimes prohibited. But even so, you very, very rarely see anyone drinking, even as much as you would normally at a bar. And more people are not drinking alcohol than are. A quick disclaimer here, I've only been to munches in Tennessee, so I don't know how this tracks everywhere. Actually, have I been to a munch in Alabama? Anyway, Tennessee, I think. But from what I hear, it's pretty normal. It's also normal to be nervous. I still get a little nervous before every single munch. I think everybody does. So don't let your nerves hold you back. I had one guy show up as I was closing down a munch one time. I was making the announcement that it was time to wrap it up, and someone interrupted me to ask me to meet him at a table to chat privately. I absolutely do not recommend you do this. I was fucking irritated, but I discovered that this poor guy had driven to the munch several times over the months, and he just sat in his car, unable to get up the nerve to actually come inside. The fact that he sat in his car for 2 hours and finally managed to muster the courage to come in at the literal last minute was something. Once he got over that hump, he was a regular attendee at the munches, even showing up early to help me set up. And he went on to make several friends in the community, which also positively affected different areas of his life. And all because he took that first step. Finally, I've heard from local kinksters who have apparently come to the munch but never joined the actual group, and instead they sit at the bar area and just watch from a distance. I also would not recommend that. However, it could be a good little start. I mean, no one at the restaurant has to be any the wiser that you came for the munch. You could be enjoying dinner or a drink alone for all that anyone knows. But I do suggest that you eventually join the group when you feel comfortable. Not because you see someone hot and want to play with her, but because so you become known, a familiar face, a familiar name, and then you become more trusted in the community. People will see you, oh, you're friends with so-and-so. And it's an opening, a connection. If you haven't listened to the podcast episode where I had the special guest Button on here, you really need to go and listen to that episode. He talks about cold calling or messaging random women whom he had no connection whatsoever and offering his submission or asking to play. Understandably, he didn't get responses. But once he began attending munches and making connections in the community, some of those same women with whom he'd originally contacted were much more receptive. They had mutual friends now because of the munches. And as mentioned in that podcast episode, Button now gets a lot of attention from the local femdoms. And it's because he became familiar. He became more trusted by coming to the munches and chatting with people. And we could vibe, oh, this is not just some fucking internet creep, you know? Anyway, go to the munch. Actually introduce yourself to people, not just femdoms. Join some groups chatting or just actively listen. That's fine. And this is why statistically, those people who go to munches regularly are far more likely to have play partners or find a kinky relationship. You're actually integrating yourself into the local community. This not just exposes you to more opportunity, but also makes you a more trusted person whom a femdom or whatever you're going for takes you more seriously. And now I'm going to go into some bonus tips specifically for femdom submissives. I already mentioned that it is important to look presentable. Secondly, feel free to introduce yourself to a femdom, but do not think that you are entitled to any of her energy or attention. You're far more likely to gain her favor and a little bit of attention if you buy her food or drink, because you're standing out. You're not just one of the many guys vying for her attention. I met one submissive who was paying attention to if drinks needed refills or if trash needed to be taken away, napkins, etc. And though I had never met him before and he obviously was not my submissive, you bet your ass that his excellent service got my attention and I was impressed. I then spent some time getting to know him after seeing this excellent behavior. Do not occupy all of her time. Pretty much, if she's lonely, it's okay to chat. But if she's looking around like she's looking for someone or she gives you short answers, it's best not to occupy her energy anymore. You can feel free to reach out to her afterwards, remind her who you were and that you enjoyed the conversation, but most definitely learn to take a hint. Many of us women, even femdoms, are genuinely kind people who find it really hard to hurt others' feelings outside of the context of, a kink scene. I'm getting better about it now, but there have been far too many instances in my life when men just did not get the fucking hint that I'm not interested in chatting with them further. And they couldn't take the hint from body clues. If you don't know what the clear signs are that she is interested in continuing the conversation or not interested, I'm going to go over some of those things in a next episode. So stay tuned for the next episode because it's all going to be about getting to know a woman based on her body language. And so if you are puzzled by women like I thought we were vibing and we're not, make sure to listen to the next episode. Thank you for listening this week. And if I've inspired you to go to your first munch, I want to hear about it. You can email me at thewildcreatrix@gmail.com. Also, I want to briefly mention that I'm having an in-person femdom class in June. This is actually for new femdoms only. So if you've been doing it for years and you're an old hat at it, this one is not for you. I will have those in the future. But if you're a listener who fits that category and you're like, I know I'm a femdom, I just need to I just need to grab a hold of it, or I want to learn more about embracing my natural femdom self. This class is for you. It's going to be utterly transformational, and I'm super excited about it. If you're interested, email me and I'll give you more information. And you subs out there, stay tuned, because I hope to have opportunities for you as well sometime this year. And something really big coming for October. I'm not even going to give any more hints than you're going to want to do it. So yeah, it's super fucking exciting. Thank you for joining me on this episode. Like and follow so you don't miss any future amazingness. Oh, and I want to give a huge shout out to a few of my listeners who really go above and beyond to show their appreciation and support. Anton, Mike, and Justin. I see your comments and support, and it really means so much to me. It actually helps with the algorithms or something like that when y'all comment. I don't understand it, but I see you and I appreciate you. And also to Joe, who has recently begun showing his appreciation through Cash App. Have I ever mentioned that receiving money from men is actually a kink of mine? It literally fucking turns me on. And I doubt that was your intention, but that was your result. And I want to publicly appreciate you. Thank you all of you, all of my listeners for being here. And until next time, stay kinky, my pet.